Good morning, everyone. Very warm welcome to babycode. I'm Tanu Vermani, an ITP certified trainer and a TEFL to Solve certified trainer. So I'm back with my live session number third today, and the topic of our live session is Academic Task 1 Report Writing. We are going to conduct a session which is based on report writing, and this session is completely for academic students who have task 1 as report writing. Okay, before watching this session, I would suggest you that you should go back to session number 1 and session number 2 of the writing module, which we have just conducted 2 days back. So you can watch it. Okay, now let's start our session. Yes. So what is academic task 1? Academic task 1 is a report writing. Now, here you have to describe, analyze, or visualize your information, and you have to present it in the form of graphs, chart, tables, or diagram, right? In this session, I'm going to provide you some of the strategies like how you can plan your answer, how you have to write your answer, organize your answer, because your task 1, you can score 7 or above if you're going to apply all those same things. Now, students, they often struggle that how to represent or how to present their answer in writing task 1. So we will look at academic writing task 1 and the features you need to include in your responses so that you can have band 7. Okay, more than 7, I would say. So you will be given an exam, a diagram, a visual way to represent information. You may have one picture or more than one, right? Sometimes it can be one diagram, sometimes it can be more than one diagram. For example, you can have table, chart, diagrams, process diagrams, graphs, or map. Sometimes you can have two also. Now, you will also be given the following instructions that you have to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, make comparison where relevant. So what you need to do is you will need to do an information transfer task. The visual information you are given needs to be presented in the form of text. As a part of task, what you need to do now, what is the structure of your report writing? You have to write 4 paras. Three basic details you have to write. First is writing an introduction. Second is writing an overview. Third is presenting and highlighting the key features with figures, that means with data. So first para is introduction. Second is your overview. Third is your key detail para 1. And the fourth one is your key detail para 2. Now, what is an introduction? What is an overview? And how you have to write your key features. We are going to discuss these things in detail today. Let's look at a closer way in the last 3 points. That means introduction, overview, and highlighted features. Introduction, overview, and the key features that need to be presented. Now, very first is introduction. The reason for an introduction is because you're going to tell the examiner what you're going to write about. Now, why do we write an introduction of, suppose anything you are writing, why do you introduce? Because you're going to tell that person what you're writing, what you're speaking, right? So same way, the reason for writing an introduction is that you're telling the examiner what you're going to write about. It is basically the paraphrasing of the question. Introduction is nothing but the paraphrasing of the question. For example, what the visual diagram is. It is the data source and when the data was collected, right? Now, introduction can be one statement. Introduction is the question rewritten in your own words. That means paraphrased. So what is introduction? It can be a one statement. It is the question rewritten in your own words. That means introduction is nothing but the paraphrasing of your question. Remember, if there are two diagrams in your task, you need to introduce both. Now, in exam, suppose you have only pie chart. So you have one introduction. But in exam, suppose you got pie chart and a table, combinational picture. So you will write an introduction for both of those pictures. That means you can write 1 to 2 sentences, one line statement for pie chart and one line statement for the your table. Clear? Now, what are the do's and don'ts for introduction? Do's, write a clear introduction to describe what you see. You have to clearly represent whatever you see in the picture. Don't present any irrelevant information like what x-axis is, what y-axis is, what gray line represents, what black triangle represents. Do not present any irrelevant information. Second, do paraphrase the question prompt. You have to paraphrase it correctly. You can use synonyms and paraphrase for non-key information also. For example, unemployed people, people who are unemployed, 1970 to 2000, you can write 3 decades, right? Don't copy the question prompt from word to word. Do not copy the same thing. Paraphrase your question. Second, do. Third, do. Use keywords in your introduction. You can talk about date, time, countries, gender, whatever keywords are there, you can use them in the introduction. Don't change the keywords in the question to inaccurate synonym. Please do not change it to inaccurate, like you're writing unemployed females in Australia to unemployed girls. No, not. Okay? Because it will change the meaning also. What next do is introduce all charts, diagrams, and table. You have to write an introduction for every of your visual presentation. Now let's look at some of the sample introduction and how it looks like. Suppose when you have a table, so how will you introduce your table is the table illustrate, the table demonstrate, the table depicts, the table elucidates employment numbers in Australia. So you are mentioning the data here, right? Your sorry, data as mean the key information, the keywords, employment numbers, Australia, that means country, talking about the time period, 30-year period, that means 1970 to 2000. Okay. Second is chart. Chart compares the number of cars that were made in France, Germany, Norway over a decade of 2000 to 2010. So now you're introducing that your chart is actually comparing number of cars and which countries, France, Germany, Norway, decade because it's a period of 10 years, 2000 to 2010. Next, diagram. Diagram show how car parts are assembled. So you are actually showing the flow that what is being made here. Process. The cycle shows how man-made fibers are produced. Map. The map illustrates changes in an English village. Please read it. Yes. So map. The map illustrates changes in an English village over a century. Now, why century? Because it is a 100 year, 1915 to 2015. So please write your synonyms accurately. Graph. Graph represent data from Ireland showing cinema attendance in major cities in 2016. So you are writing a well-developed response for your introduction part. Now, when you have two charts, so you will write introduction for first chart also and second chart also. Pie chart shows the main energy resources used to generate power in a town in Australia. This is one. Second, while the table shows how much energy was consumed by community in 1989. So you are writing for the second also. Now, once your introduction is done, you have to write an overview. Overview in your response should summarize what you see in your diagram. It should summarize the main thing. Now, what main? Main trends, main changes, main developments, main stages, any main noticeable feature you have to write in your overview. You need to present a clear overview to reach a band 7 and higher. Let's take a closer look at the task achievement band descriptor to see how important a clear overview is. Writing a clear overview in your writing task 1, if you're writing it clearly, you will be scoring band 7 or above. See here. Now band 6, a relevant overview is attempted. But band 7, when you present a clear overview, that means the data are appropriately categorized, main trends or differences are identified here, right? Now, what are the do's and don'ts? You have to use linking words to summarize what you see. For example, overall, to summarize, in summary, look for the trends. You can see that something which is increasing, something which is decreasing, any kind of fluctuation in the visual diagram, any high or low points, anything, something stable. So you will look for those trends and then you have to write. You have to look if there are any future predictions. You have to summarize the future trends also in your overview. You can highlight any change in the overall trend of visual. For example, something is declining, something is increasing, something there is a sharp increase. Don't include data or figures in your overview. No, not at all. Okay, you have to only summarize your main trends or feature. Identify everything Identify everything in the overview. It should be a summary statement for most noticeable features in the diagram. Highlight key features with data. Okay, don't highlight key features with data. You need not to write any data or figures in overview. Now, how your introduction and overview looks like when it combined. Introduction done. Now see the overview for the table. Overall, it can be seen that numbers of people employed have increased over the number of people employed have increased over the period, whereas unemployed figures remain the same. So when you observe, you saw that number of people employed, they have increased, whereas unemployed figures, they remain stable. Chart. In brief, Germany was the major producer of vehicles, over this followed by France and then Norway. So you are writing your overview correctly, following the pattern also. Diagram. Now diagram, you know that it is all about stages, all about steps. So you cannot write something increasing or decreasing, high or low here, or something which is stable. So you will mention the parts. So it can be seen that there are four main stages to car manufacturing. These are molding, machining, joining, and shearing. Next, when it comes to process, again, there are steps. You can't have any highlighted feature like increasing or decreasing or high-low. So you can write here, it can be clearly seen that there are 6 steps involved in production of clothes, starting with raw material and ending with final product. Map, again, map shows the changes from new one to the older one. So you can write here that they have experienced major changes. First it was small farm village, now an industrial town. Graph, again, graph can have something increasing or highlighting trend. So you can write that younger age group, they visit cinema most, whereas older people, they rarely attend. Two pie charts, again, you have to write for first one and second one. So overall, by looking at the charts, it can be seen that oil is used most as energy sources and the most power is required for domestic cooling. So you are writing overview for both. Clear? Now let's talk about key features. How key features are important. When you write the key features, you must present that with the data to support your description. Key features are those features that stand out the most in diagram. For example, if a diagram shows 5 countries, then these 5 countries are the key feature. If you miss a country, your description is incomplete. You will receive band 7. Band 4. Band 7 achieve, if you want to achieve band 7, then key features which are selected are covered and clearly highlighted. For band 4, few key features have been selected. So you have to write about all the key features. Now, table below outline visual diagram. Now, suppose then you have a graph of 5 age group. What are your key features? 5 age group, major trends, outstanding figures, 2 years. When you have a pie chart of 5 types of fuels, so 5 types of different fuels are your key feature and major fuel type also. When you have a picture for about map showing 50 years ago and a town now, so there are 2 maps, something which remains same, something which changed, things which are new, you have to write about all the key features. Process showing 7 stages, so each of the 7 stages is your key feature. Any extra step, you will write about that also. Chart showing 3 products over 3 years. So again, you have to write about 3 products, 3 years, and number that are noticeable. Now, when you successfully address your task, you need to describe key features. You need to use data also to support. Because band 5 says the recounting of detail is mainly mechanical. There may be no data to support. So if you do not use the data, your response will match only band 5. So what data you should represent to get band 7 or higher is support data for each element, noticeable features that figure out, figures that have increased or decreased, figures that have not changed remain same, names of the building, roads, paths, something which is shown on map, things that have changed in the diagram, things that are new, stages in the process, any extra step, material or equipment used. So you will represent all those if you want to score 7 or higher. Now, what are the do's and don'ts? Do's is present the figures given in the visual diagram. Present correct number like hundreds, thousand, 10,000. Write the correct number format also when it is hundred, thousand. Correct data represented in visual diagram. That means kilogram, percentages, number barrel. So whatever is there, you have to present. Now, what are the don'ts? Don't present the data mechanically. Like in 1992, it was 2%, 1993, it was 3%, 1994, it was 6. Don't present the data inaccurately. Make sure you read y-axis carefully. Don't use calculations to respond to tasks. For example, calculating the averages. Don't misread the data and present it inaccurately. You have to write it correctly. Now, what we have learned today, we discussed about clear introduction that you have to paraphrase. We talked about clear summary of overview that you have to summarize and then presenting the key features with supporting data. And remember, academic task 1 does not have conclusion. So please do not expect or do not write anything related to conclusion part. Let's have a look at the question. You can see the chart below gives information about levels of education by age range in the UK in 2010. So bar chart is the question. Now you can see here there are university degrees, school certificate, no qualification, and the education level is also there. 16 to 24, 24 to 35, 35 to 50, 50 to 75, and 75 plus. So there are different age groups also. So you have to first paraphrase your question for the introduction part, and then you have to analyze the overview. So you can see here the trend. When I talk about the last one, the 75 plus, that means the older generation, they are having no qualification because 72% people are having no qualification, 3% are having school certificate, right? So how you have to respond to this, you can have a look at the model answer, read it carefully, analyze it, try to write it in your own words, look for the introduction statement also, look for the overview also, and the details also. How the supporting details are added, the data is added, and how this is presented. Any doubts, any queries, you can drop in the comment section later on once you watch this video. So thank you so much for watching this session. I'm also going to come up with new sessions, but before that, I would suggest you that you can practice on the babycode application and start practicing, because if you're having your exam, it will help you a lot in the writing module. You can check out the live session on the YouTube and on the babycode application. Drop your comments, your queries, any topic you want me to cover. I'll be coming up with that. Okay, but please practice for this one. Do practice for this so that you know how to write a well response for achieving band 7 or above. Okay, don't settle yourself for 5.5 or 6. Target for 7 and more. So stay tuned for the upcoming session. I'm going to come up with next topic tomorrow. Okay, bye bye. See you all.